Hi, I'm Stuart Fisher. I'm a founder, a member and owner of Bridbrewer and Tap here in Bridlington.
Excellent. And what beers we got going?
So at the moment we have the two stainless steel fermenters going with, one's got orange and coriander and the other one's got citra, wheat. And then in the numbers 1 and 2 we have rum raisin oatmeal stout, and 3 and 4 we have hoppy and bread, which is one of our other blonde regulars.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to the one.
We're brewing on the Brewmaster here.
Excellent.
It's a 50 litre unit, so I set 2 units off, 1 hour apart, and that produces 4 brews a week, which is enough for the production of the whole premises. And then I often bottle half of it and put the other half to pin. But the production basically will be either 2 pins, some bottle and pins, or in a case of whiskey pilsner, it's purely bottle conditioned beer because I carbonate it.
So I'm taking you're not just a shop, you're actually a bar as well then?
Yes. So I've got 4 on the draft at the moment.
Right. Is it just you? Have you got a few members of staff
I
then
have
to
a
come
colleague of mine called Trevor Wraith who used to run the Kellam Island Tavern before he retired. He still has that business, so he just volunteers for me.
Oh, brilliant.
2 days a week. He was working yesterday. He often works a Saturday and a Monday.
What your normal hours then here?
I just do 12 to 6, Mondays to Sundays, but I'm closed on Tuesdays.
Sounds excellent.
Then at the end here we have the future. We have the second Brewmaster that I brew on. That's the Brewmaster needing repair. And then we have copper, which is part of a 2.5 barrel plant. So it's a 400 litre roughly copper. Same with the mash tun, 2 fermenters, and a hot liquor tank from another chap who used to brew in his shed, brew in a bag. So there's some measurements there where you used to measure it. It's roughly 300 litre vessel. So long term I want to set this out probably in a stainless steel tray, because here's where it gets a bit awkward, because there's no natural drainage on this side of the building. It's all in the centre of the building. So a bit like the bar where we use a macerator to push the foul water across and stuff like that. You need to basically trap the water here and then pump across in some manner.
Yeah, so you haven't got any drainage in the floor then for the brewery?
This is concrete as well, unfortunately.
Right.
So the building splits from the King Street side at the far end to just at the corner of that illuminated section.
Yeah.
There's an actual cellar beneath that.
Oh wow.
It's an all wooden floor, and then coming forward, this is where Higginson's, who were the previous occupants of Bakers Cafe for 60 odd years, joined the 2 buildings just on this single story. So we have a flat roof above us, and all this from up to Chapel Street side is concrete.
Right.
I understand from other premises that a lot of the cellars are filled in on Chapel Street side.
Right.
I'm guessing it may be something to do with the beck, and you're not worried about the beck coming under the building. And obviously river flow would go naturally down either Manor Street or here in Chapel Street. If it starts going down Chapel Street, it could flood out the cellars, I'm guessing.
Right.
I'm only guessing that. I may be incorrect.
Yeah, you don't get done for that, do you?
No. So
where are the Brewmasters from?
So the Brewmasters are from eBay originally.
Yeah.
They're a German unit.
They are German,
all in one system. So we have in this system, we have double elements, and unlike most brewing processes, where when you mash it, you go through the bed from the top. This pumps from below. There's 2 pumps on this particular device, so it draws water down and across. So it's doing a motion up, and you put all the malt in what's called a malt bar. So basically, it's an internal cylinder with filters top and bottom, and then you put a bar across this malt pipe, and then you mash from below, and there's a circular motion like that that's drawing all the brew liquor across and through the bed.
Brilliant.
From the bottom to the top. The one disadvantage of that system, you have to put sort of set amounts of malt in there because of this bar arrangement. So you roughly, for a brew out of here, although it's a 50 litre device, your end of day brew, you're producing anywhere between 44 and 48 litres of brew. And then that will then reduce down to around about your finishing products to customers would probably be another 2 litres off of that. So roughly 44 to 46 litres
Brilliant.
of saleable and then obviously if you're putting it something like to a pin, there's a little bit of extra redundancy, as you know, with real ales in a pin. You don't serve the last bit because that's full of yeast.
Yeah.
And your customers don't really want to serve yeast. And it looks pretty nasty.
I seem to remember about 3 years ago when we met up, you sold your house down south. Now, is it true you didn't actually know Bridlington at the time when you moved down here?
I knew Bridlington. I passed through it and had a stopover. I stopped over one night on the way returning from a cycling trip to Scotland. We dropped the bikes off in the car and stayed at a B&B here. And Buddy wanted to visit Flamborough Head. And then I've always wanted to retire by the sea. So when the opportunity came up, just over 5 years ago now, we all moved up here. I then started getting into the real ale scene, brewing. Joined a club in Lower Clapton called Brew Club, and I was brewing.
So that was in Essex. You did your training.
That was actually in East London.
That's East London.
And I was brewing. I hired the smaller version of these, 20 litres. So I'd hire. They had stations to hire. So the first thing you did was you did introductory how to use the units. And that was an all-in-one price of around about £120. And then you took about 40 bottles of beer away, and then from that you then could subsequently just hire the machines because they knew you were competent to use them. And I just honed my skills by using a lot of things like I listened to a lot of podcasts by Brew Strong, which is an American channel. You had things like Jermaine Zen Chef, John Palmer, and a whole wealth of very knowledgeable people in the brew scene over there. And I do a lot of APAs and sort of very experimental style of brews.
Now, people I've talked to said you do quite a lot of experimental brews. What would you say is your most experimental flavour you've done so far?
I think it's probably the one we've probably got on tap at the moment, which is called Ledley's Lush Libation.
Right.
A brew buddy of mine at the time, it was actually up yesterday and a couple of days before. We used to brew at the same time.
Yeah.
We've got a friend from school called Leslie who loves Southern Comfort. So he wanted me to do a beer in her honour. So I infused some dried cherries with Southern Comfort, and I also added banana puree, and they all went in the fermenter on day 3.
Wow.
It's called Leslie's Lush Libation. So it's quite an unusual brew, but there are always room for doing something different. For Christmas last year I did Santa's Gone Bananas. So that was a cranberry infused beer using some Martell VSOP cognac and again banana puree. Because I tend to find the banana puree sort of works very well with some of these infused beers. But yeah, I think the most that's probably the most experimental. The one I was most concerned maybe putting on draft, but people did very much like it, and I'm doing again, is Straw Milkshake Max.
Yeah.
Where I infused, I know infusion is a process of using some milk lactose at boil, and some strawberry puree in the fermenter, and it's quite high content to get a bit of a strawberry milkshake hit, and that was very well received.
And what's the? We've bought a few bottles to try when we get back. How's the whiskey pilsner get the whiskey in it then? That's a whiskey kiln malt. So what we do is there's a process that the maltsters does where they kiln the malt, and when they're kilning it, they use a whiskey barrel, and so it naturally then steeps into that almost. So you get that nice sort of subtle whiskey note, sort of an effervescence on the tongue. And then the Pilsner part is because I use some Bohemian Pilsner malt in the power malt selection. It's not a true lager, but I carbonate it to give that sort of lager fizz. It's a bit more depthful, but it's still a standard top fermenting process rather than a lager process. Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for opening us for us today, and I hope it goes from strength to strength. Thank you very much. Thank you.